What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. I'm having a great day. I'm about to get into the mix, man. I'm looking forward to it. Spending some time with some music today. Hoping to feel something in here. Hoping to feel something in here. Have those hairs stand up. Get those goosies everywhere. Just feel it. Let's go. We get to do this. We get to make music today, man. Wow. What freaking lottery did I win in the past life? Thankful. Thankful. All right, but first we're going to do some questions. Got some, I'm looking at my screen here. Got some Q&A. Some questions came in. Woo! Thank you guys for asking questions. And you can actually ask more questions in this video too. Maybe we'll do some more of this down the road. Let's jump in. Edward Fitzpatrick asks, what's the must-have gear that you'd recommend for someone to invest in to be successful? And what gear do you predict will go up in value and be a great ROI down the road? I'm going to try to be really quick about this one because I have potential to just rant on this subject forever. But I feel really strongly that you can't get the wheels off the ground in this business unless you have really low overhead. And I think financial frugality and responsibility is really important to making stuff happen. So I highly recommend The Lean Startup. There's a great book called The Lean Startup. And it's just like when you're starting a business, just keeping expenses very low, going bare essentials to get the job done. And lucky for you, as a mixer, master, songwriter, producer, musician, anything, you really only need the bare essentials these days because computers will do all of it in the box. You could buy a basic plug-in bundle, a very basic computer. Like right here, I've got my MacBook Pro. It's a 2013. It's old, but it runs. It runs Pro Tools. It runs all the main, like major modern plugins. All the stuff that I need is on this computer. It's amazing, and it cost me $200 refurbished, used. Like, dude, I mean, not to get even remotely political here, but I do get kind of sick thinking about, the tech giants and the really big corporations that prey upon young, vulnerable musicians and just young people in general by feeding them a narrative that they need really expensive stuff in order to be successful. Or that you need to have a look, like you need to pull up to the session in like a certain type of car to like, you need to dress for success. And it's just like, it's just not really the situation in this situation, for this job. I don't think that's the vibe. Okay. Second part of the answer. We already talked about a computer. Get a DAW that's going to give you reliable, consistent results. Something, Pro Tools, Logic, FL, Ableton Live, whatever it's going to be. Get a speaker system that you enjoy. I would highly recommend getting some AirPod Pros too, something like that a lot of people are going to be listing on, and then also get a set of speakers for your room. Dyne Audio, Neumann, they make some great two-ways. I'm an NS10 guy. If you're like mega rich and it doesn't matter, just get some Strauss monitors and save yourself all the trouble because you'll never rebuy them after that. I'm reading the second part of this question now. What gear do you predict will go up in value and be a great return on investment down the road? I don't think that any of this should be thought of as an investment. Instead of investing in gear, I think you should be opening up a Roth IRA and thinking about your retirement and loading it up with some index funds. Get a nice little 70-20-10 split. We don't need to get into that today. Next question. How would you incorporate delay reverb throws on particular words of your template, Jesse? Yeah, so on the template video, I completely forgot to talk about this. But I have these S-throw tracks that just sit there. It's a blank audio track that has no audio in it. And what I'll do is I'll just split off and I'll just drag and duplicate any section of audio down into it from a lead vocal that I want to throw out. And that way I don't need to automate an effects throw with a send because I've seen people that do that, and it's just like, that seems really slow and like time consuming for me. And I just don't think that. I just want to drag it and then adjust the fader and adjust the effect and then go for it. And that's how I like to do it. Are you happy with your speakers? I want to get those one day. Yeah, I love the Strauss monitors. But kind of like I spoke about earlier, I'm not into the whole keeping up with the Joneses. Like I don't really itch to try out new things because once you find something that just works so sufficiently, like I would be doing myself a disservice to switch monitors at this point. I've been on NS10s for the last 15 years, and then I've been on the Strauss monitors for like the last 6 years. So like at this point, I know these so incredibly well that switching would just almost confuse me and hurt the productions that I'm trying to send back to clients, There'd be a big learning curve of relearning the mid-range and relearning the high end. And to be honest, the distortion and the anomalies are so incredibly low, and with these Strauss monitors, it's just near perfection. It's about as good as it can possibly get. And I just don't need to try anything else, man. Loving these videos, Jesse, really helping me not to overthink my mixes. Good, man. Don't overthink. Just feel. Any chance we could see the last session? Yeah, so that's one we're keeping pretty under lock and key as far as the team goes. It's a special record. I think we're keeping that one quiet for now. But I did remix the session for all analog on an SSL, and you can see that video here. And that was a lot of fun. I did that with my friends at Audio Movers. That was a really good time. It was awesome. Yeah, check that out. Jesse, nice and great videos to learn and watch. Nice and great videos. Good. I'm glad that I was able to achieve both of those things. What types of machine you rolling with? I'm guessing Mac. I need to know which. Yeah, that's a tough one to read. Yeah, I work on Macs. Showed you my MacBook already. That's like an older one. When I'm traveling, I use that. Here in the studio, underneath here, I have the Mac Pro Studio. It's an M1. They're all the way up to like M4 now, so like way fancier computers. But again, this one is paid for. I got this, many years ago now. At this point, I think like 3 years ago. It's working great. I hope I don't have to replace it for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. There's so much better things to do with your money, you guys, than spending money every single year. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant, but like, you could be saving this money and you could be putting it into index funds that will grow over, and then you'll be able to actually freaking record so you don't die. So you don't die in the damn chair, you guys. Come on. All right. Next question. I noticed you use the 24 dB per octave curve on your Bell EQ as a default mode. Long story short, ProQ, when you bring it up, it has these nice big wide bells, right? But if you adjust the slope, you can make them a little more so they have a stiff drop off. I want that stiffy, baby. And the reason for that is I don't want all that extra info on the sides. If I'm trying to focus on a certain frequency, ordinarily, I'm just not going to want all the extra stuff on the sides. I don't want that extra info above and below. Just let me get what I'm there for. Let me get in, let me get out. Hi, Jess, how are you? I'm good, thanks. Been following your work here on YouTube, and I noticed you use the H3000 in your studio. I've been studying a lot about ambience and stereo imaging in my mixes, and I wanted to ask, do you consider the H3000 a reference for this kind of processing? Is it an essential tool to understand how top engineers create depth and spatial placement in music? Yeah, I do have an H3000 hardware unit that is incredible and amazing, and I'm hoping to use it more and more and more in the future. I got it from my friend Bob Clearmountain. Thank you, man. But most of the time, I'm just using plugins that do that type of thing. I don't think you need the H3000 plugin. Like I think there's a few that do that type of effect. It does an amazing job of it. But you can also use little micro shift or just time adjuster and just delay your left and right differently. In Logic, you can just use the delay plugin and just delay the left and right, 15 milliseconds and then 50, whatever it is, you can just adjust them so it gets this wide, cool contrast from left to right. The most important thing is just EQing it. EQ out the boom, EQ out the mids, and you want it to be the right type of shiny polish up top, make that thing sound good. All right, I always wondered what brand and model wireless keyboard you're using and how you're controlling your monitoring levels from your keyboard. So this is just the Apple Magic keyboard and the Apple Magic trackpad. But they're sitting in this platform called the Bullet Train Express keyboard platform. Very fun, very fun. Tech company out of the Bay. I've had like 3 or 4 of these because I get frustrated and I just go, wah! Oh, these things rule. This is really nice. I have my system hooked up through the Apogee Symphony, so when I hit the little volume up and down keys on here, I'm able to get that to trim the audio. Cool little cheat code for that too. People don't know this, but if you hold Option and Shift, and you can see it happening, it'll give you little tiny increments of your volume change. Where did you get these drum samples? And he is referring to the country mixing video, and I believe he's referring to the live room audio drum samples. And you can just Google this, live room audio snare samples. This stuff is amazing. These are like some of the most delicious. My favorite is the Cleaver Heavyweight, which sounds like it's like a Van Cleef, like a bronze. I think it's a 6x14, but that one is just, these samples are completely sick, dude. Go check them out. Help me understand the usage of SplitEQ versus ProQ4. Yeah. And then also, one day can you do a video on your shortcuts and how you pull things up so quickly and navigate your favorite plugins with the speed that I'm not used to seeing? It's crazy. I would love to see a quick 25-minute video. I would love to see a quick 25-minute video touching on that. Yeah, you learn the shortcuts and just get going really fast. Maybe I can pull up some of the. I guess I don't really know what I do. And whenever someone's like, "What's the shortcut for that?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's just the one that feels like this." So I have to kind of go look at the keyboard and be like, "Oh, it's Option Shift and I." I don't know. It's a feel thing at this point. So EQ and split EQ. So like ProQ3, that is a frickin', ProQ3, ProQ4, those are EQ plugins. Split EQ is more like a transient designer in different bands, right? So it allows you to adjust the transient info, the initial, just first little snippet of a sound, like the initial f or the ka. And then, the blue would be the sustained, the tonal information. So everything after the transient. If you have a snare, you've got ka. And so the initial transient is ka, and the rest is the ah. So, and there's so many scenarios where with EQ, for years, I was just like, I'm trying to get something to happen with EQ and with compression. Like when I boost low end, I'm like trying to get this, but like with split EQ, it's just so easy. It's just like, okay, I want more smack in the low end. I want more smack in the top end. And by smack, I'm talking initial transient, just transient attack, right? Or for example, like if you're EQing a piano, there's two sounds that happen with the piano. The hammer hitting the string, and then the sustain of that, right? So you might have a bright, tacky sounding piano where the hammers are really just like intense and transient and very ticky. And I've had that where it's like, I can't get this thing. Like the only way to get it to stop doing that would be to compress it really fast. But then you lose a little bit of just some of the flavor there. So, I would use something like split EQ to take up in the upper end, take the attack and just find that tickiness and just turn it down in the top end, right? But it's not going to affect the top end ring of the string, of the sustained part of the note. So it's the most unbelievably flexible tool. It's amazing and it's magical and it's freaking sweet, dude. What else? Let's see you got a bass drum. Total opposite issue. Let's say you got a bass drum and you're just trying to get the punch out of it, but it has like a, or maybe you can hear the floor tom like resonating through the kick drum. If you were to go and cut out that 80 or 100 hertz out of the kick with just standard EQ, you'd be losing a bit of push because it would be cutting out, both the sustain and the transient. And I want the transient to be there at 80, 100. I want transient to be everywhere across the entire spectrum of a kick drum. I want it to push, baby. But I want to just use the sustain cut, the tonal cut of split EQ to just pull out the ring without pulling out the transient. So it's kind of confusing to explain. Plus, I'm a terrible teacher, so I'm not doing a great job of that. But I really, really love that tool. But I'm still using ProQ, most of the time for everything else. Thanks for the upload. Unrelated, but where do you get the Acoustic treatment baffles behind you against the walls? Yeah, these three as well as that one over there. These are John Hunter. It's like this guy in California that makes these panels, and cool panels and pretty well priced, especially when you price them against like tube traps and like ASC stuff. Like it's really competitive. These ones are like 8-inch thick rock wool, which is good. It's not a substitute for like really having membrane absorbers, and like my back wall, for example, are these these big old thickies. Like look at these guys. These big old thickies, 24-inch thick with MLV on the front, and then like 20 an air gap, and then 20 inches inside of pink fluffy unicorns. And then I do have some ASCs and about 15 other ones that are at my assistant's place. But yeah, so those are John Hunters, and then I built all these ones. And you know what? If you guys want to see all that, you can look at this video right up here. All right, cool. That was some audio advice, some life advice. If you want a little bit just more about kind of mapping a trajectory in this industry and having a positivity mindset and being able to formulate a really good plan to sort of get yourself up off the ground and become successful, you can freaking look at this video right here. Right. See you guys next time, man. Peace.